So when I started working on the Loner, I wanted to make a comic book which would be different from ordinary comic books about superheroes. So that is why it is basically a manga-inspired comic book. Of course, it is not pure manga because it is not read from right to left, and it's not black and white. So it's a manga-inspired comic book. Anyway, it's comic. So as for the entourage and the atmosphere of the universe in which I put this comic book in is also a special place, because I wanted to make such an alternative world in which elements of traditional Japanese culture and samurai culture exist as they were in 17th century. And at the same time you may see some modern approaches, especially if you take a look at technology there. You may see some elements of traditional culture, especially when it is related to clothing and to samurai code and all that, because it is inspired by all that stuff. Well, the character design is based on, many elements. The first element is the mask of a loner, for example, is based on traditional kabuki masks that are used during the play. So, and maybe there are some allusions towards several superheroes and anti-heroes in comic book history. First of all, Frank Castle, the Punisher, Deadpool maybe partially, though the Loner is not Deadpool, of course. He is a noble man and his actions are well thought usually. So as for the overall atmosphere of the comic book, I can say that sometimes it may be violent, sometimes it may be aggressive, but in general its tone is very inspiring, very encouraging. Well, so imagine, almost a year with the Loner, 3 issues. Well, it was a pleasure to work with it. Real pleasure. Because when I was working with it, it was one of the best things I've ever done in comic books. I've always tried to create something like a comic book, but I didn't want to create a superhero comic book. I wanted to create a story of maybe dignity, the story of bravery, the story of maybe courage. Relationships between the Loner and his apprentice are yet to be just discovered, because it is not over. So that's it. As I've already said, the comic book draws its inspiration from traditional Japanese culture, blended with some modern, modern approaches. So that's it. Well, I'm looking forward to writing it, because for me it's also a discovery. Sometimes I do not know how the story will end, and it's all a great pleasure to work on it, to develop it. I'm very grateful to all the readers who had read it, who had expressed their reviews towards this comic book. Thank you for this. Yes, and let's just look forward to the next issue.